And thank you for joining us for High Dawn, co-presented by UC Berkeley Poetry Colloquium, which is Lee Choi and Leo Dunsker. Small Press Traffic is based in the Bay Area on the unceded land of the Ohlone people, in San Francisco, the Ramaytush people of Yelamu, and in the East Bay, the Chochenyo people of Huichin. We acknowledge those who have stewarded this land for thousands of years through systemic violence and forced displacement, who continue to resist and protect their traditions today. As settlers on this land, we make acknowledgements as the first step in a longer process of rematriation and healing. As you were arriving, we were showing a video of Madalyn Merkey performing in November for Yale Union. That video has not yet been released, so thanks to Madalyn, we were able to get a sneak preview of it. And I'm very excited to have Steve Orth and Carrie Hunter reading tonight, as well as Madalyn perform. We were going to invite you all to be free with the chat box if you have questions along the way or comments you'd like to make. Feel free to type them in as the event is unfolding, and we will, at the end, engage in a conversation with whatever is there. And without further ado, Kate Robinson will be introducing our readers. She'll introduce each reader before they go up. So happy to invite Kate now to introduce Steve.
Hi everybody. Great to see everyone here. So when Sid first asked me to intro Steve today, I got excited. If you don't know, my press, Dogpark Collective, published this book that Steve is going to be hopefully reading from tonight. And so I've spent many months up to my eyeballs in the life and times of Steve Orth, and I truly love this book and I love him. And then I immediately got really freaked out by all the things that I've already said about the book and things that other people have said. And I thought, how can I talk about this book when I'm so far up inside of it? So I decided to go look around and see what other people had said about it to kind of get me started. And Brandon Brown said, "Everything is bad, friends. We deserve this tender, hilarious, abject writing in our lives." Which I thought was accurate. Eric Sands said, "Reading Orth is like experiencing San Francisco firsthand in the most pure way possible. Not as a yuppie, not as a techie, but as a person who's working a shitty job, getting drunk, having relationships, and just getting by in an increasingly expensive city. I'm not from the Bay Area, but going through this book makes me feel more and more at home here." Which gets at the most relatable, I think, and one of the most relatable and accessible threads running through the life and times of Steve Orth, which is the reality of a working class subject trying to exist on the bleeding edge of late capitalism. But then a few days ago, I watched Steve's interview with Sarah Larson, which is up on SPT's website now. Definitely recommend you take a look, listen, it's really great and fun. And they posed some questions I feel uniquely prepared to answer, given that I made the book. And this unlocks the core of what I want to say about this work and about Steve as a writer. Their questions were, why are the poems in the middle of the book? And why, given that it's a work of fiction, is the title The Life and Times of Steve Orth? And I think answering the first one can sort of point to the answer for the second one, which they both kind of try to answer in the interview, which again, recommend. I think Sid just dropped it in the chat. So Steve Orth's different pieces of writing all fit together to build a worldview. The characters are diverse in their subjectivities, but they all live in the same world. And the short stories do a great job of outlining the boundaries of that world, introducing you to its peoples and places and their overall sensibility. We decided to put the poems in the middle of the book rather than the beginning or the end, which maybe would seem at first thought the place to put them, because they feel like a creative outgrowth of the sensibility that is outlined within the collection of the stories. So you read the stories and you get familiarized with this world, and then the voice of the speaker of the poems is yet another character working out how they feel and think through the practice of writing poems. And then we plunge you into Dude Boy, a goofily masterful work of banal repetition and iteration, the sort of pinnacle of the world that Steve has built up in the first two sections. Steve Orth writes poems that no one else wants to write, and he wants to give you permission to do the same thing. His characters, sorry, I just laughed and I looked at Steve's face and I lost my spot. His characters and the things that happen to them run the gamut from silly to bleak, all the while couched in an affable and approachable voice of someone you could work a shitty job with, maybe even the person who makes that job bearable despite their obvious flaws. The Life and Times of Steve Orth is a work of fiction, yes, but it outlines the material concerns of the IRL Steve Orth and meets its readers in an uncanny valley between his life and theirs, while occasionally crying in the bathroom at work. Steve Orth.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Kate, that was wonderful. Oh, these are introductions are so emotional. Does everyone else feel that way when you read? Just like it tears me apart. And the interview, in the interview, Sarah and I talked a little bit about these questions about like Steve, like Sarah's like, why is this book called The Life and Times of Steve Orth? And I was like, I don't know. And she's like, why are the poems in the middle? And I was like, I don't know. And what I I kind of like said a little bit about, but what I really want to say right now is that the book was just as much my vision. It was really a collaborative effort of vision between me and Dogpark. Like they're just as much, it's just as much their book it is mine, I feel like. And it was like a dream come true working with them and having so much wonderful insight into like these weird little things I wrote. So thank you so much, Kate. I'm not going to read from the book tonight, though. Sorry. I want to. Well, before I begin, I want to say congratulations to Carrie on Carrie's new book, which everyone please go get right now. And thank you to Madalyn and thank you to Sid for everything. What I'm going to read tonight is this new piece I've been working on. We're working on the science fiction novel, okay? And so here's the world of the science fiction. In this world, you could like go on vacation with your friends, and then you could go to a play, and then you could go to like a restaurant, you could have something to eat, and then you could go for a little stroll, and then you could go to like see some art. And that's kind of like this really weird world that I created with this new novel I've been working on. And also one thing you can also do is take recreational drugs. So the piece I want to read for you tonight is I was kind of inspired by Bruce Boone's My Walk with Bob, and I kind of was like, I'm going to steal that and make that like my kind of thing. But then like, I'm not Bruce Boone. I don't know if you guys know that, but like, and then I also had like a lot of coffee, right? So it became like my walk with Bob, like on speed. So like in this thing I'm going to read, these two characters are like on speed, and then they go for a walk together. And it's not that representative of the whole book, because this is the only part where they're kind of like taking some pills or something. So I hope you enjoy it. Okay. Soon Diane and I become more talkative, and we decide to go for a walk. Maybe go to a shop, maybe get a snack. And there we are, walking on the sidewalk. It's an incredibly beautiful day. I mean, the weather right now it's so perfect. You couldn't ask for better weather than this. I'm wearing a thin jean jacket, right? But honestly, I think I might take it off. That's how nice it feels. The sun feels amazing on my skin. I'm also starting to feel better, you know. I don't even really feel hungover anymore. Maybe just a little outside walk was all I needed. And the mimosa, and the speed we took, and my friendship with Diane, who's really, really great. We're walking around North Oakland right now, and this is where I used to live. And I gotta say, wow, this neighborhood has had radical change. It is way different. I remember when I moved here into this neighborhood like 10 years ago. I'm thinking back on that time. I'm reflecting. It feels good to reflect. I love memories. I've been trying this new journal exercise recently to improve my memory. I'm sort of doing this inventory about my stuff, my possessions, where every day I pick up a thing I own, right? And then I write about it, and I write about how I got it and what was happening during my life at that time. And just being back in Oakland really brings up a lot of memories for me. because I used to live here. This is where I live. This is like my home. Yes, I feel pretty good. I do. This neighborhood is so different though. It's so gentrified. I know the word gentrification is like a buzzword right now, but that's what's happening. And it makes me feel so sad and angry and absolutely, I don't know, kind of powerless. Like it's a travesty. I saw this really smart tweet on gentrification the other day. It really made me think, it was something about how some like store wouldn't accept EBT or food stamps, but would accept Bitcoin. And it was just so real. It just makes me so angry and sad that people's perceived value is tied to their wealth or their ability to create wealth for others. I mean, what kind of world is this? I actually know quite a bit about gentrification, but I'm sorry, I don't think I can talk about this right now. I'm starting to feel depressed. I want to be happy today. I want to be present with my friend Diane, who I'm getting to know better. So I start thinking about stuff that I can talk to her about. And I'm thinking and I'm thinking, and there's so much stuff I want to ask her about. And then I ask if she's been seeing anyone lately. And as soon as I ask her that, I realize that maybe I should not have brought this up because Diane, she just went through this traumatic breakup, but it turns out to be totally fine. She's telling me the story about this date she went on, and I'm like so happy for her, really. But then she gets to the part in the date where she tells me about the sex stuff. And she tells me about how she hurt her neck because she was doing a 69 in a Honda Civic. And then she met this guy named Widowmaker. And when Diane finishes her story, I think it's my turn to start talking. So I start talking about this bartender I had a crush on. By Diane, she talks over me. She doesn't let me talk, and I want to talk. I've got some really cool stories I've been wanting to share, but now I'm just stuck listening, performing this role of this person that Diane is walking with, being the active listener. That's my role, Life is just like this, We're just performing, and that's what we do. That's real because think about it. Think about it. Everything is just us performing a personality for ourselves or someone or some group. Okay. We perform our personality, or at least I do. I mean, at my old job, they never even knew I was a poet. One person I work with, Eileen, she found a magazine that I had published called Sports Illustrated and Poetry. Eileen saw it in a coffee shop, okay? And she came over to my desk the next day at work and she asked me about it. And I just blew it off. But get this, a week later, Dan in sales said he had heard that I was a beat poet. A beat poet. No, I'm not a beat poet. Dan then asked if I like Bukowski, and I'm like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? I mean, I secretly do like Bukowski, but that is a secret that I don't tell people. I never even told Martha that I like him. In fact, when Martha and I were getting ready to move in together, I decided to sell a bunch of books, including all of my Bukowski books. I even had the Black Sparrow versions, but I was ready to outgrow Bukowski. I just was. I wanted to move on from that. I didn't want Martha to see that I owned anything by this guy, this misogynist guy. But a month into our domestic bliss, I needed those books back. So you know what I did? I got on the internet, I got on Google Chrome, I got on Pirate Bay, checked my VPN, downloaded pirated ebooks of his entire bibliography, and uploaded that shit onto my Kindle library, which I'm also embarrassed about owning. I should delete those books because Bukowski's a stinker. He's got this whole, what do you say, one must walk through the fire, manifest destiny type of bullshit. And also, I sometimes feel his work is lacking a formal aesthetic. Well, maybe there is a formal aesthetic. I just don't know what it is or I can't spot it. But who am I kidding? Who am I to make judgments on any writer? I mean, really, what kind of writer am I? At least Bukowski would work his job, would still feel enough passion to write. I don't have that. I go to class, I read my assignment, I put on my sweatpants, and then I just want to watch a movie or something, not think about it so much. In fact, I'm not even watching movies, people. I'm watching reruns of The Great British Baking Show. I'm not driven. I have no drive. I don't have that instinct. You see, writing was like a drug to Bukowski, wasn't it? Or was it, right? Because all these fucking man writers, right? They just self-mythologize themselves ad nauseum, turning themselves into these soldiers fighting the war of literary heroism. Give me a break. My eyeballs cannot literally roll back that far. It is physically impossible. But I guess there is something that I can't appreciate, that this writing, even if I my self-mythology is from someone not in or from the ivory tower, right? An alcoholic postal worker with an ugly face somehow becomes the darling of the literary underground. Of course, I've been trained to resent that, as I've been trained by these academics in college. I wonder if when I'm done with my program, my MFA program, if I could go into another fully funded program at a different university. It would be kind of cool to have a couple of years on the East Coast, maybe like at Brown, right? Maybe Cornell. Where is Cornell? Suddenly, Diane and I find ourselves on Piedmont Avenue, and my heart is racing, you guys. How long have we been on this street? We go we go into Spectator Books, and I am sweating, and I'm worried about my appearance. Is my nervous, speedy energy visible to anyone? I decide to just behave really, really normal while I'm in the store. That way, people won't think I'm some sort of freak. I mean, I shouldn't be forced to change my behavior. This is my life. I don't have to conform to shit, right? Still, I do not want to embarrass myself, and I should calm myself, even though I feel especially good. You know, it's so inspiring to be around so many books, so much fantastic literature. Even if I'm not reading it, just to be around it gets my creative juices flowing. And just like that, I think up an interesting short story idea. It just pops in my head, right? Being around so many books just opens me up in this artistic mode. Oh, it's a tremendous concept too. That's the best part. That's not just some random idea, but it is a fantastic idea. And that's why I'm so excited. Okay, let me tell you about it. It's about a couple of teenagers growing up in some town in Ohio, like Akron or Columbus. Okay, so these teens, right? They run into their school teacher one Saturday afternoon at the county fair, and the teacher is drunk off his hat, his ass, like totally wasted, right? And then they totally interact with each other or some shit, right? Isn't that fantastic? I would read that, and I bet a lot of other people would read it. Maybe I should make it into a novel. I want to tell Diane about my new story idea, so I do. And then I ask Diane what she thinks, and she says it sounds interesting, but she also says that I am shouting. Huh. Okay, now I feel really embarrassed. I put my head down, I go over to the other side of the bookstore. I decide to be chill. I decide to be the chillest person in the whole bookstore. And after a few moments later, I am almost completely chilled out. And that's when I begin to worry that someone in this store heard me talking and is going to steal my story idea. Because I bet everyone in this bookstore thinks themselves an author. I bet you $1,000,000 that the guy who works here is a writer. I wonder if he's any good. I wonder what his style is. I'm trying to be generous. I want to visualize him as a fellow traveler instead of a competitor. And then I see a Lucia Berlin book, and not one of the new ones, but one of the Black Sparrow ones. And wow, that is so strange because only a few minutes prior, I was thinking about Black Sparrow. Remember, I was thinking about Charles Bukowski and what his writing represents. How odd. How very, very odd. Is this the universe speaking to me? Hmm. I tend to believe that there are no coincidences, just cosmic connections, you know what I mean? And here the universe was showing me the Lucia Berlin book, and wow, maybe I should just buy it. Or maybe I should steal it. Why not, right? What's wrong with a little shoplifting? It would be exciting, wouldn't it? See, why should I continue to give the book industry so much of my money and never get anything in return other than books? That's the real crime. They should have a thing for every 10 books you buy, you get a free book. That should be across the board at every bookstore. One universal stamp card. I don't know about that. Because let's just say hypothetically, you go to Barnes and Noble, right? And you buy 9 books for like $1 each because they got a sale and you get 9 stamps. That's terrific. But then you go into a hip local independent bookstore and you get a free copy of a first edition signed copy of Gravity's Rainbow. I mean, how fair would that be? Not fair at all. It won't work. Sorry. You know, it won't work. But maybe I should get Gravity's Rainbow. I've never read it. In fact, I never really got into Pynchon at all. I tried, I really did. But I just, after 50 pages, I couldn't take it anymore. You know what I mean? But maybe I should give it another try. How about this? What if I stole one of his books? And what if I buy the Berlin book and steal the Pynchon book? That would fool them, right? They would never suspect that someone that's buying a book is also stealing another book. Brilliant. Oh, but I can't. I shouldn't. I should not steal from an independent bookstore. That is so wrong. I wonder if they have The Tanners by Robert Walser. I should check and see if they have that. Oh, and maybe I should check to see if they have any Barbara Guest. I've been meaning to read her. I don't even know where the poetry section is. I bet most of the people don't know where the poetry section is in their local bookstore. I bet half the staff doesn't even know where the poetry section is. If I had a bookstore, the poetry section would be right up front, in your face. I'd get hold of a big neon green flashing sign that said poetry, just to let everyone know that this is the poetry section. I think that would be so cool. Maybe I should open a bookstore. And then, and then, and then I swiftly remember that I had bought cigarettes earlier. And that was just really so smart of me when I did that. I go over to Diane and I ask if she wants to go have a smoke. She says yes and puts down her book. And I sit down a David Lynch interview book that I did not even realize I was holding. I don't know why I would even bother with a David Lynch interview book. It's not like he's going to tell me what Mulholland Drive is about. He's just going to say that I need to learn transcendental meditation, which I'm not really sold on. And besides, last year I went on the internet and I received a mantra for free. Why pay all that money for a mantra? Just go on the internet and get a free one. Just Google free mantra, and that's all you need to do. Diane and I stroll past the counter. I say goodbye to the store clerk, and out the door we go. We light up, and fuck, that cigarette tastes terrific. Diane asks if I want some water and hands me her water bottle. Yeah, that water tastes especially great. It's really refreshing. I didn't realize just how thirsty I was. I say the word wow out loud, and then I recognize that I'm kind of amped up. And I comment on that. I say, I'm feeling amped up. Diane nods in agreement. She's amazing. What a great friend. We decide to walk to Mountain View Cemetery. Diane suggests Diane suggests that we get a tea to mellow out. Yes, another fantastic idea that I am super into because she's right. Mellowing out would be absolutely the most perfect thing to do at this moment. We stop on the way at a local coffee shop and each get a peppermint chamomile tea, okay? Okay? The tea is delicious. It is refreshing. It is ridiculously good. I like it. I also kind of like the barista who I think is cute. Like gross, but cute. I'd love to see them get hit by a car or something. You know what I mean? Just see how their body responds. I keep seeing all these cute people. Maybe it's just that there are cuter people here in the Bay. How did I get so horny? Was it the horniness or am I just stimulated by beauty? It could be both. Who knows? I don't. I can't be sure. I feel great though. I really do. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Steve. Steve Orth, everybody. Yeah, thanks, Steve. Madalyn Merkey is a composer and performer of live computer music based in the Bay Area. Her work observes the principles of acoustic instruments and material spaces to design real-time sound synthesis programs for site-specific performances, generating lush synthetic environments with the aid of acoustic readings from microphones and sensors. In a great interview that she did with the Creative Independent, Madalyn talks about sound and time in a way that I think relates to writing as well. She says, with sound, you get the experience of time. With a visual image, you get all the information at once. You then have to look in at all the little parts. But with sound, you get more of a reveal over time, where you don't have all the information immediately. This is exciting as an artist. There's a different kind of control. And another quote from the interview. An important element that I think about when working with sound is that it's atmospheric and not necessarily musical. To me, the individual sounds are alive and changing. Even though I try to control the shapes of the sounds, I like to also use my computer to make surprising things happen or have them constantly changing, because that's not something any instrument you buy off the shelf can do. Merkey has performed solo computer music compositions at Yale Union Issue Project Room and Block Cinema, and designed sound installations for Robert Irwin's Central Garden at the Getty Center in Los Angeles. She's also the English translator of the pioneer electronic music text Due Scuole di Musica Elettronica in Italia by composer Enore Zafiri, originally published in 1968. Please join me in welcoming Madalyn Merkey.
Thank you, Sid. I'm excited to do my first Zoom performance. Let's see if this works. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna stop. Yay, I hope some sounds happen. I tried. Yeah.
There were definitely some sounds. That was amazing. Thank you, Madalyn.
Thank you. So happy to be here with you guys.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, that was really awesome. Thank you so much. Next, we have Carrie Hunter. Where you are? There you are. Hi, Carrie. I was so excited to spend some time with your book, and I just really loved it. Everyone, this is Vibratory Milieu is out from Nightboat. Really wonderful text. Something Steve's and Carrie's book share is this complete and unique world creation in an approachable container that veers from funny to bleak with stops everywhere in between. Extremely formally different than the life and times of Steve Orth, Carrie Hunter's Vibratory Milieu, rather than a sublimation of the experience of a proletarian subject, is a mind-bending totality collage of lines taken directly from her life and the art and media she takes in her inner contemplation. Every line or statement in Vibratory Milieu ends with a full stop. It's an assertive declaratory text that continually opens itself up to examination and rumination upon the formation of a subject. I have a sequence of events that I will create a sequence for, she says. Carrie's piles of discontinuous aphoristic moments, ideas, assertions, and proposals manage to collapse both time and subjectivity into a disjointed technology. The word piles came to me over and over while reading this book. For what could a pile of thoughts and ideas be used as a tool? I believe, as I get the sense she does as well, that the book is actually a perfect container for these sorts of inner workings. They took the hands off the clock, she says. The book is still a technology. The book object freezes these statements from the life of the writer and the time of the page and allows the reader to return to them over and over, creating a space for them to try on these declarations. The sunlight is a mirror, says the speaker, evoking a reflective presence before declaring, my nostalgia is starting to bore me in the very next line. A life poem that reflects backward and into a continually dissolving future simultaneously, an arc as in a vessel, carrying the reader across time, this book technology. This book speaks directly at one point, shouting in all caps, I collect situations, and shortly thereafter, there is no proof that you exist. The you in this instance seemingly drawn in opposition to itself, a proof of itself because it's in the reader's hands. The life poem is torqued here, a futurity of the reader to sit inside of. A futurity for the reader to sit inside of. A complaint about its opacity questions a particularity that misses the point. She is coming at the work of developing a subjectivity. Is it Carrie or that of the book, from all angles at once, tossing every notion into the arc to see if they can divine some sensible shape? What seems to be a unity is actually a subtle chronology. The time-based art of turning pages and taking in words teases out meaning bit by bit while utterly necessarily filtered through the reader's own philosophical mind. In the last section of the book, which shares its name with the title, Carrie, unclear if she's critiquing herself or someone else, conjures the rising tide of the nonspecific, and the room fills with the vibrations of decisions made, genders activated, the failure to become real, and invisible tables turned. This milieu seems to be the totality of all possible forms, the memory of a dream inside of another dream, or a contested existence that endures nonetheless. Carrie Hunter.
Thank you, Kate. What a great introduction. So exciting to like that anyone reads me at all. And then to have, thoughts about it. Very, very exciting. So yeah, this is the book. Hopefully you can get it. Okay, there's the link. Thank you. And I'm going to read from a PDF because I sort of rearranged everything and I grouped it into like themes, kind of, which maybe wouldn't work well in the book, but it seemed like it was good for a reading. And thanks to Sid for inviting me and to Steve for being hilarious. and to Madalyn for being weird. And I don't know, I thought, oh, that's a perfect combination of what my poetry is, maybe funny and weird. I don't know. You be the judge. Okay, so since the cover has a great image from Kit Schluter, who's I think not here, but very cool collage of HD, and then her face is sort of like palimpsested out, which seems sort of collagey. So I thought I'd start with a poem that when HD came to me in a dream. HD in my dream last night asking, do you have any number fives? Whether they are arcs or orbs, I am one among many, an exceptionally affectionate Arabian horse. Poems that won't stay in their boundaries, but float here and there, and the poet's job is to wander around collecting them. I didn't want to hide behind an attempt at ventriloquism. There's a lot of quotes in this. I'm not really gonna do the air quote every other line, but you can figure it out, I guess. Every act of becoming conscious, it says here in this book, is an unnatural act. Adrienne Rich. Some I have, proper citations. I was trying really hard to be formal with this book, but a lot of them don't, and they're from movies, which there's a long, long list at the end. So you can just think about that. Decision within aporia. The freeway closed due to a robbery, stabbing, and the guy escaping on foot. I don't want to get my feet wet. Nearly every day words disappear. If Andrew gets up, we'll all get up. It'll be anarchy. A lot of blank I want that I make up the existence of. Lemon-colored sunlight. Happiness is forgetfulness. He wanted me to read this poem, this amazing poem, and I did, and it was written on this old man's clothes. So I was reading his shirt, and then I wanted to read his pants, so he took them off. And even though he was really old, there was this really nice smell to his pants, like cologne. There is no proof that you exist. The writers, having lived in the writing the reader in turn lives in, the HD book. The book as future, futurity, the complaint questions a particularity that misses the point. The ancient vegetarians, Porphyry and Eustathius, how debt is private. I live by the sky and die by the sky. We all kill what we love. We have to drink in silence. The sound of the faucet turning off. I tell them that I do not sleep near the windows. No one's ever stilled his hunger with manners, my dear. The dream is in slow motion, danger style, and all of a sudden there is a cheetah there. The anti-poetic voice as a defense. Stranded in the moment passing between us. The basement room that you step down into and is in the back of the building. And I'd say to God, do your best and crush us. Space touches itself and replicates itself and becomes. I'd put my heart outside so I'd have a place to sit. Daybook of following Robert Duncan, following HD. Sexuality's cousin. And so that's the HD poems. And then I thought it was funny that Steve's book has his name in the title, and my book has a whole section named Carrie, so I thought I'd read some Carrie poems. And I believe a long time ago, Zach Haber invited me to read at the Long Hall, and it was on Halloween. So I watched Carrie, of course, and put in some lines from Carrie. So there's a few of these here. Celibate cruising, like having a presentiment. Now that's a pretty girl, look at your eyes. How the sea wave and the sky are both elements of writing. During intermission, I wanted to get more golf balls. There was a point where I thought I might take longer, but I changed my mind. I have a small room, but the rest of the house is not mine, and I have a very little awareness of it. I saw him looking down at me that way, and I liked it. I liked it. The most ordinary morning in anyone's life, by univocality. The second thing in the list. Reading the text that the text read. Had to ruin the game with her on the team. Then he called the cops on me to make me sign the receipt. I'm supposed to be moved by this, not using it for my own devices. A curious feeling of braking and accelerating at the same time. Dreamt of a document that is a quilt spread out and then lines interlaying a poem on top of it and cutting out the quilt squares to be pages of the poem. The curse was the curse of blood. The non-circular winding stairway. How light is obviously not solid, but for a moment it seemed almost solid, and it was gently placed on my face. Her amnesia could be a blessing. There are places he cannot enter. Redbreast weeping. Carrie White eats shit. The economy is scary. The chairs with their backs to one another. To have come to this through the process of its own process instead of another's. I am Carrie, scheduled for Thursday, but accidentally came on Tuesday, and there happens to be a Carrie scheduled for Tuesday, but she is not here, so I am her. Above the window is written like graffiti, "Dragons love you." Trying to remember childhood feelings in my body. Nothing belongs to anything, and anything doesn't exist. Fear must be banished, fear of thinking, fear of being happy. To end police violence, we must end policing as we know it. Kianga Yamada Taylor. The reversal of the reversal, evidences of animal suicidality. We stop at the motel. The sunlight is a mirror. My nostalgia is starting to bore me. All disease is on a continuum. A room of one's own is a temporality. It's like we're in a mirage together. I can see the light and it's a disco light. What the body cannot process, it echoes. A preference for paragraphs today. How unity, specificity splits. None of the parts have any meaning, yet you understand the meaning when they're all put together. The shoe belongs in the lake now. Secret, knob, thistles, thinking. Carrie Hunter. That was a quote by me from somewhere else. All the pretty girls have soot on them. What's happening over here is in conversation with what's happening over there. If only the tension and the drama could just be a conversation that shows a philosophical point of contention rather than just people chasing one another. If I learn too much, I won't always be happy. And I think that's the end of the Carrie section. And the rest of the poems are just, I don't know what they are, just some stuff towards the end. Okay. The influence the original sound exerts on the clone body. Desire is an emptiness that desires an emptiness, which turns in ways that leave the illusion displaced or perfectly placed. We came here before we were born. I'm wearing nightfall. Your subjects may be more adaptable than you realize. No 7-second delay here. A man comes in and turns off the power, but the music continues. Then later I realize I don't even have to go up the stairs. If you just stay there, the whole floor moves. Still life with stuck things. As if outside of the space where God resides is a space where God does not. Say goodbye to the sleigh. There is no anonymity. I tell him I want to hear his dreams and he tells me 3. The handwriting was identical. Overheard. He only made me cry twice. Someone who comes up to the stage and explains all the inside jokes. Traveling forever, never arriving. I knew there was something scientific going on when I saw the boy with the alligator that had human teeth. Non-gendered until we choose it. Why can we never do anything at the most important moments? There is so much I don't need. I don't even need my body. I go and stand in every room that I am going to lose, and it is all of them. People drink more coffee when it's cold. It is body worship which becomes sex. Then I see naked people and I wonder if I'm naked. A vestigial word for a feeling you've never felt. the mythology of quiet houses. I went into my bedroom and was flipping through all my papers and couldn't find things, and it was messy. I was in a panic, and somehow everything was white. The paper, the bedspread, the carpet, and the whiteness was not purity or beauty, but representative of all this chaos blending into itself. I can't feel what I feel, but I know I feel it. You pull, and I'll pull back. Surgery to get my circumcision put back on. The combination of the unexpected and the inevitable. The problematics of using the word psychosis to describe either lesbianism or poetry. Rain music misinterpreted as actual rain, and I dream of a rain fairy coming to me and saying, about, and she is calling me. Don't become a global pariah. The clock in my dream keeps saying 2 a.m. every time I look, but it is light out, so how could it be? Forgot the moon existed. Just do what you like to do. This idea that well-being is possible. I am braiding phrases from books of history into my hair, books of history that are about my history, geographical history mixed in with my emotional history. All attempts at truth or knowledge are attempts at power. When I say what I really want to say, I say it very softly. This is almost magic. Secret signals or codes the dream gives you to tell you that you're dreaming, which only seems obvious later. I try to bring my dream dog to class, a whole dream of things in the wrong places. How the other is not an other because I don't exist. Sexy Ferris wheel, an unconditional end to a future choice. Relegated to a life of horror. The less we say about it, the better. The darkness creates in me a panic, but I sort of like it. There are dumpsters in this scene, a memory leaking. Notebooks are for spying. There are theories. God is not permission. He is at the reading he can't read at the time he is supposed to read, and everybody is confused. Why is he here if he can't read here? A broken heart, but a broken heart that is a relief. The phallus capitalized and abstracted. It was time to take a look at everything that I've been taught to believe. I say I don't need it, but he says, here, take it. The music and the wind is the water, press 4 for the water. The opposite of meaning is not the indeterminacy of meaning. The decision's reasoning is just made up. She rubs off her lipstick before she passes him the bottle. Pain is not a final destination. Dream I am waiting somewhere in a big house with a bunch of other people waiting, and we start talking about zombies, and soon there are zombies in the house, or the people become zombies, but they are not scary zombies, they are just casual zombies. Semiotics is an occasion. The purposeful flat note, as if mistakes and incompetence were something to strive for. Sleep is just for a bleak darkness to disappear into for a while, and then we come out of it and it is lost forever. Writing as an external memory system. One must be careful to call a predator by its proper plural. Dressing up your lyrical eye all in red. Sarah asked me how I was, and I said it was cold earlier, but it's fine now. Now that I know, I will cross it out, writing it more and more. The binary revealed as contingent. He was shooting at mobile Black sociality walking down the street, Fred Moten. A girl's identity is a kind of loss. As soon as I say your name, you walk through the door. I'm game for anything. I just want to know how much you charge. If the vibration fills the room, women especially are hell to get to know. Opposition that erases difference. Aladdin's lamps wish. There was snow and it was damaged in places. The rising tide of the non-specific. Fear that if you lose focus, you lose your entire self. What seems to be a unity is actually a subtle chronology. And I think I'll stop there. Thank you all for letting me read.